Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Yep, it's the world's most dangerous morning show, The Breakfast Club. Charlamagne the God, Angela Yee. Envy had to run, man, but we got a guest in the Zoom right now. My man, Eddie Hong. Eddie, what's happening, brother?
What's good? How you doing?
I'm blessed, black, and highly favored. I always be wondering, am I pronouncing your last name correctly?
No, I mean, you got a unique pronunciation that nobody else pronounced, which I kind of like. You came up with your own shit, so I never correct you.
What is it?
Huang. But you say Hong, and I think it's kind of funny, so it's cool.
Huang?
Huang, yeah.
Break that down for me, because I don't hear the G.
Yeah, I mean, it means yellow in Chinese.
Okay.
It means big yellow, Huang. So in Chinese, that's how you say it. But you stick to how you doing it. I think.
I'm gonna just say Big Stepper Eddie H. That's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah. How about that?
Well, the movie Boogie is actually out in theaters, and then it's going to be streaming right this weekend. So that's a big deal for you. How was it for you? Did you ever, when you did this, I'm sure you didn't predict that there would be a pandemic and then the theaters would be shut down and all of that. So talk to me about the decision, because I know a lot of filmmakers have been trying to make that hard choice about whether or not they want to have it streaming only, whether they want to actually have movies in theaters. So for you, Boogie being your directorial debut, what was the thinking behind the release for you?
Well, I'm funny. Like, I just go off astrology. So I'd be reading Susan Miller and I read The Pattern, and I'm a Pisces. So they gave me like a number of dates. There was a date in March, there's a date in April, there was a date in May. And then there was also, Focus was cool. They're like, look, if you want to try to hold out, like, we'll work with you on a later date. But I was also seeing the vaccine rollout, and I was just reading the astrology, and I was like, it's a Pisces film. Like, let's go. Like, I felt good about March. My birthday's March 1st, and I was just like, let's do March 5th. So it also was a time where there weren't like the big Marvel movies coming out, because you got like Black Widow coming out later, and you got a bunch of other Marvel films. I mean, we went up against Tom and Jerry, and we went up against Raya the Last Dragon. But I think we did really, really well. For a film this size, those are like $100 million films, and ours is, after the taxes, like somewhere in like the 6 range. So I'm pretty proud of what we did.
And this is your directorial debut. Was there a part of you that was like, fuck, I don't want this released like that. I want the OG rollout in the theaters?
Yeah, no, I mean, I did. And it was like, I was in a drive-in and I was watching it, and it was cool. Focus like threw us a premiere. You do what you can, but I'll be honest, Charlamagne, like I don't get salty or tight about any of that, because you can't control these things, And once you make the film, the art is done, and it was funny. The first day I got to see it with like 200 people at the premiere, I was like, man, this must be how my mom felt on like the first day of school. Like, your kid went to school, it's not mine anymore. And that was a very interesting feeling. And I dealt with that for a couple of weeks. Then I just went and threw a party in Miami. So I felt good.
Eddie, I respect you, man, because like you so unapologetically about you and your people. And regardless of what it is that you do, it's always Asian centered. And I think that's dope, because I watch Boogie and I'm like, man, Boogie's a great film, but it makes you Google certain things you may not be aware of, whether it's lingo, language, things about the food, jokes, whatever it is. And then it makes you appreciate it more. It's like a Wu-Tang album. Like I when you grow up and you get older, you start putting all those things together. Oh, that's what they were talking about.
Yeah. That's so funny you said that, because I would reference Ghostface all the time in meetings, because, I do keep it very authentic and specific to like how Chinese, Taiwanese people operate in the home. And a lot of our customs don't make sense to Americans, other producers. And I would say, yo, do you understand what Ghost is saying when he said Jurassic plastic booby traps? No, but you were banging that.
That's right.
And I was like, I think you texted me too. You're like, yo, I didn't understand a lot of the things in the movie, but if you make it cool, people will want to search for that. People will want to figure it out. And for me, philosophically, I was like, I have 2 choices. One, make it authentic and make it cool and hope people chase that rabbit down the hole. Or the other one is kind of curve it, compromise it, suture our culture and make it more American or more white so people will get it. And I was like, that's not the point. I could never do that. No.
That's real.
You know, it's an interesting time here now too, because we've been talking a lot about stopping this Asian hate that's been going on because of the Donald Trump calling it the China virus and the Wuhan virus, right? And I've seen a lot of pushback from people in the Black community. It's hard for me because I'm Black and Asian. And so I look at it from both sides, but I've seen a lot of pushback from people saying, oh, well, Asian people don't like us anyway. And Asian people treat Black people awful. So what are your thoughts on some of the things that have been happening? Because I see both. Of course, I see people who are standing up, right, and saying, okay, any type of hate is wrong and stop Asian hate. But then I also see a lot of people saying, well, they don't care about us. They come in our communities and they set up shops and they don't care at all. So why should we even bother to help them? That's their fight. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is a really good question, Yi, and this is one I was hoping we would get to talk about because I'm familiar with your background and I seen you back in CV a long time ago, and then but no, for me even in the scene, the first scene in present day in Boogie when it's Boogie and his father and Uncle Jackie in the film, the song playing in the car is Yellow Man, Mr. Chin, which is a song about Jamaican people, Yellow Man himself. Yeah, complaining about the Chinese man, the Chinese shops in Jamaica and the treatment of Jamaicans in those stores. These are the same stories people told, in the post LA riots with the Korean stores and things like that. And there's always been friction in the Black community between Asian and Black. But then there are also wonderful stories about Asian and Black people living together, working together. The Yellow Panthers on the West Coast. I was very inspired as a kid just watching like Bruce Lee teach Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Kung Fu.
Mm-hmm.
I was inspired the way, Houston welcomed Yao Ming. I remember that interaction. There's many, many incredible examples of Black and Asian people working side by side. So, I seen Amanda Seales' video. She went to my high school. She was going off about, how she didn't want to support Asians in the Stop AAPI hate movement. I ignore her. There's also people on the Asian side that are like, it's our time now. We're always asked to stand with BLM and we're always asked to be part of this movement, but where's our support now? And I'm like, homie, look around. There is support. We can always go look at the bad apples in every community and we can focus on that. But there is a lot of incredible Black Asian solidarity. And that's what I choose to look at. And that's what I choose to continue to promote because we all have a common problem, which is we are fragmented in this country. We are not allowed to be whole human beings. We are constantly pushed down. And even when you just look at the way Black women are presented in American culture, hypersexualized, the Asian man is desexualized, emasculated. That's a big reason why I chose to have an interracial romance here that in many ways subverted the stereotypes of Asian men and Black women in Boogie. I think it's one of the most important things this film accomplished.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of the Black Asian tension. I guess, you see a movie like Minister Society, you think about stuff like that. Or, you do have you walk into a store and you might get profiled, but when you Black, I feel like that happens all the time, right? But my thing is, man, even if you do feel that way, enemy of my enemy should be my friend. Like the real battle is us against white supremacy.
Exactly. And that is the battle, and it's going to take all of us. It's not going to, it can't just be Black people fighting that battle. And I also can understand why some Black people are frustrated because for many generations, a couple generations, Asian people have not participated in politics like that. There's not that many of us that were out there, but there always were some. There always were some in New York. There's some in Seattle. There's some in Oakland. Oakland, I think, is probably the best example of Black and Asian people living side by side, coming together, and you see how influenced, you know, both communities are. It's a beautiful thing when we do the work together. And that's what I want to continue doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect time to work on those relationships because there are a lot of Asian people in Black communities that open stores. Look, I experienced a lot growing up. And I do feel like the older generation, like my family, my grandparents are from China, and they had a lot of prejudice against Black people. But I feel like my aunts and uncles were not like that. You know, in my own family, like obviously my dad is Chinese, my mom is Black. You know, they got married. My youngest uncle married a Black woman also. And so, and they've always, my uncles and aunts have always accepted me and my brother. It was really my grandparents, I feel like, that had the issue. And I feel like this is a generation of change, right? Where people can actually start to come together more and celebrate each other's culture. So I'm hopeful for that. It just is a lot going on that I feel like needs to be addressed. So I'm just glad that you're on the show and you can talk about it too.
Yeah, and like, you know, there's always white people in my comments trying to be like, you see, it was a Black person that attacked that elderly Asian person. You see, it was a Black person. And I'm like, that is the man's plan. That white supremacy's plan is to play the barbarians against each other, divide and conquer. And it's also just like, you know, immigrants, we all live together in low income neighborhoods, right? And it is a lot of Asian people that own stores, but you know, I can understand the frustration because everyone that's poor, everyone that's an immigrant is like in this crucible, fish in a barrel. And so you're poor, you're frustrated, you're in a pandemic, you know, you may flail, you may spaz out on an old Asian person, which is completely wrong. Is completely wrong. But it's different than a white guy strategically targeting Asian businesses, killing 6 Asian people. You know,
Right.
like that's just different, you know, and neither of them are right. Neither of them are correct. I really hope that we get help and support from the Black community, also telling the community, yo, you cannot blame Asian people for what's going on right now. I know you heard Donald Trump say the China virus or the Kung flu, but man, come on, like elderly people, this is unconscionable to go hurt elderly people. But I do not think this is a Black Asian thing. This is the education thing, and we have to stick together and we have to move forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild. White supremacists profiled Asian people the way they've always profiled Black people. And so now Asian people get demonized the same way Black people have always gotten demonized. It's like, let's focus on the real enemy here, people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Link
look,
up.
this happened to me in school. The first time a kid called me, well, actually, it was the second time. Second time a kid called me a chink in school. It was a Black kid, but he was the only Black kid in class, and I was the only Chinese kid in class, and everybody else laughed at both of us all the time. And I could tell at times when he got to snap on me, it was like a huge relief for him. Like, goddamn, I ain't on the bottom no more. Like Eddie's on the bottom today. And I could understand it, and I empathized with him. And I never, when he hit me and he threw me to the ground and we got in a fight, even in 3rd grade, I could understand. I was like, man, he's just sick of being picked on by everybody else, you know? And that's what I feel is going on now. And it is wrong. It is
Right.
totally wrong. It is not acceptable. But we should all talk about our wounds. Like, Black people are the scapegoat for everything in this country all the damn time. I cannot imagine how that feels. You know,
Right.
we still can't accept some of the behavior hitting elderly, but it's like you have to empathize with the community. And I hope Asian people will open their hearts. And in this moment, we have an opportunity to be leaders and bring people together.
Absolutely.
Now, how was it in Hollywood getting a movie like Boogie made? With all of that being said, how was that experience? I know you've had not the most pleasant time with Fresh Off the Boat. So let's discuss Hollywood and what it's been like for you to bring these stories to life.
It's really hard because, you know, I feel like I can say I was the first person in this generation post oh my God, All American Girl. I mean, Fresh Off the Boat was the first time, I believe, in 20, 25 years that an Asian family was on TV again. And I was basically presenting an entire like alien group of people to Hollywood, and they really made us compromise and conform. I understood what happened, but even after that, to sell Boogie, they were like, whoa, 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 this is, now you really want to be Asian. This is a real Asian film, you know, like, I don't know if people are ready for this, but I mean, when you are a new character in Hollywood and you're representing a new kind of culture, they just, you know, it's very easy for them to say no to you. I was lucky enough that Focus Features believed in it, believed in my voice, and that I would be able to get this across.
What'd you learn from your experience with Fresh Off the Boat to Boogie? Because I remember you had complaints about Fresh Off the Boat. You felt like they were whitewashing it, Americanizing it. What did you learn?
Yeah, I mean, number one, I learned that I ain't shit in Hollywood, right? Because I came two guns up and was just like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And, oh, sorry, we can't say that.
It's all good.
But, you know, and then I realized, like, it was like in Donnie Brasco when they went to Miami, and it was like, yo, we got nobody out here, you know? So I had to bow my head. I had to learn. I worked on my craft. And then, you know, I made my allies. I made my friends. I met the people here in Hollywood, many of them New Yorkers, who were like, look, I don't want to continue to whitewash other people's work. I don't want to like shoehorn it. Like, you know, I don't want to push it through. So let's figure out the best way where Hollywood can win and you get to tell your story. And that's what me and my best friend, Rafael Martinez, did.
Is it a true story?
The basketball, no, I was never that good at basketball. But, you know, it is a true story in terms of the family and the way that, like, he sacrifices his dream at times to satisfy family. All the things in the family and a lot of the romance is true.
Yeah, you know, it's bittersweet too, right? Because, you know, I'm watching the film and I'm thinking of the year Pop Smoke had last year musically, and then to come back 2021 and he'd have been starring in a film. Like, what was your relationship with Pop Smoke, and how did you react to his death?
I mean, this has been a really tough 2 years. You know, like, just, you know, when you guys were talking about the rollout and the date, I was like, that ain't even the one that I was I mean, when we lost Pop, that was like, man, that was the hard one to deal with. You know, like, it was really hard to look at him every day in the edit knowing he was gone. You know, because I spent hours in there just watching him and listening to him and looking at the outtakes. And I mean, that's my brother, you know, like that's my brother. And, you know, Charlamagne, we had a wonderful day with you on set, right? And I felt like I got to really know you a lot better. But I mean, I had Pop for like 7 days, and then we still kept in touch after, you know, and it was just, I don't know, I'm rambling right now, but it was tough. I mean, I remember I tuned in when his mom was on y'all's show, and it was unbelievable to hear his mother talk about him, because that's the Pop that I know. You know, not to the extent of his mom, but one of the best moments I had, we were standing on a sideline one day, and Pop just turned to me. He goes, "Hey, big dog, you know, I was a good kid, right?" I say, "Yeah, of course, you still a good kid, Pop." You know, you're 20 years old, you still a kid. And he's like, "You know, I used to get good grades." I was like, "I believe you got good grades. Of course you did." And I was like, "But you still a good kid." And he said to me, I turned into a monster. And he said, "You know, did you watch that World Star video?" So I seen the World Star video. He said, "You know, you ever felt like that?" I was like, "Yeah, that's why I wrote this movie." And he's like, "Yeah, you know, I figured." And he said to me, "You know, I was really a good kid until that happened, and them boys picked on me, and I never wanted to be bullied again, and I became a monster."
Wow.
And, you know, we used that emotion in the film, you know, and Pop spoke to me about it, but that broke my heart, man. Like, you know, you can see also Pop's arc and development as an artist from Meet the Woo 1 to Meet the Woo 2. And then the final album, it's like, it's love songs. You know, like, I remember when we got done with the movie, Pop was talking, "Man, I want to act." Him and Rico was talking about, "Yo, what's next? Like, we want to do another movie, we want to act." And then I was getting these songs from him, and I was like, "Yo, these are all love songs. Like, this is what he wants to make." Like, you're gonna make that Nelly drill. You know what I mean? And that really, it was so sad to lose Pop because I could see him coming back to his child, like that child he was before he got picked on. So it was really hard for me.
How did you know Pop was the guy? Because that you casted this in got to be like 2019, right?
Yeah.
28.
Yeah.
So how did you know Pop? I'm gonna go with Pop Smoke.
Yeah, well, in New York, you just know, the first time you hear a song and it goes, that's it. You know that song is gonna be banging outside of every car on Fulton Street this summer. It's just like when Shmurda came out, when Young M.A. came out. I remember when 50 and French came. It was like, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
The city is his city now.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember hearing Welcome to the Party, and I was like, oh, who is this? And I didn't really know who he was yet. I was just, that Welcome to the Party shit crazy. And we had a situation where we had to cast Monk, and we found out he could play basketball, and it was my homie Despot, who plays the assistant coach, that was like, yo, Pop can play ball, right? I was like, word? Because Steven had already been talking to my friend Raph about like, yo, we got to get Pop in this movie. We were aware of the music, but the minute we found out he was like a good basketball player, we were like, all right, bring him in. And then Pop came to my crib. We played ball. He was a bully. And that was it, man. When we got along, like, we both water signs. I'm Pisces, he Cancer. We just, from day one, we got along. We really saw each other eye to eye.
Yeah, I'm a Cancer too.
Word?
Yes, sir.
Hey, that's what's up. See? Astrology is real.
No, I believe it, especially with the attributes that all our signs have. I definitely, if you're a self-aware person, you can see those things in yourself.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Did you have fun on the movie, Charlamagne?
I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. Yeah, I just enjoy it. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I want to be an actor, but I do enjoy like playing other characters. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times when they bring me on these sets, they want me to play myself. Like, oh, we want Charlamagne to be Charlamagne. So to play a whole other role, it just was fun. And I didn't even really know what was going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I just see him.
Charlamagne can play. Can you play basketball, Charlamagne?
Well, I'm a coach in the movie.
I know, but can you play basketball? I'm just wondering.
I used to could play, not no more. When I was young, we used to play all day, but not no more. Not no more.
Yo, people ask a lot of the interview, they love the sunken place joke from your scene. They love that joke. But no, for anyone listening, man, Charlotte, you came in and it was almost like 3 to 5 takes and you were done, man. You were quick.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, even just to see the reaction of people, because like you said, I don't know anything about it's complicated Taiwanese beer, whatever. Yeah. I don't know anything about that, but people find that humorous.
Yeah, I didn't explain it to you because I was like, it'll work better for you in scene if you genuinely don't know what the fuck this is.
Yeah. So what is it?
It's just a beer. So Taiwan beer is just a beer from Taiwan. It's just like our Budweiser.
Got you.
But the joke in the film is because, for Taiwanese, people will be like, are you Taiwanese? And it's like, for the Chinese that came to Taiwan post 1950 after the Civil War, we're not necessarily considered full Taiwanese. They always, in Taiwan, we have to say, oh, we're Chinese, we're overseas Chinese. Mm-hmm. But in America, we will say we're Taiwanese Chinese. It's like just complicated. Like at home, we don't get to say this, but in America, we're expected to say we're Taiwanese. So that's why the parents, when you're in that scene, they're just like, it's complicated. Don't worry about it.
How did you cast Charlamagne in the movie?
Well, I'm just a fan. I mean, I'm not to fan out, but I'm a fan of the Breakfast Club, and when there was the recruiter, the original pick for this was Young Jeezy. I wanted Young Jeezy because Young Jeezy.
Don't tell him that. He already did their twin.
Yeah.
Don't tell him.
You know what I'm saying? I was like,
Jeezy. I didn't say Morris Chestnut.
Yeah, exactly. I just feel like Young Jeezy is like the preacher. And I was like, I want a recruiter that is like a preacher from Georgetown, very like John Thompson-esque, coming to save this kid. And when Jeezy wasn't available, I was like, well, it's Morris Chestnut or Charlamagne.
Oh my God, stop it now. I gotta log off.
Dad, you listen to the director, okay? Eddie, he knows what he's talking about.
The whole casting process was interesting because even the character of Boogie was not a conventional choice for you. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, Boogie, I met playing ball, and he was nice. And I was like, this might be the best Asian basketball player I ever seen. And then he was like a kind kid too. Because a lot of times you get like a fly Asian basketball player, he a very good hair Asian. You know what I mean? And like, it's just culturally not it. That's not the film. He came in, he had the same haircut, same like skin fade as me. He's from Oakland, very, very, nice with the handle. And he was a bit of a, he was tough. He was a strong, silent like kid. And I started to cook with him because he's a yakitori cook too. So he's very like working class, tough kid, nothing ever given to him. And he started to cook with me, and my mom seen him cook with me one day and was like, yo, you got to keep him around. Everything you tell him to do, he does it exactly as you told him to do it. He waits for instruction, and then he works like 100%. And so for Christmas one year, I just called him. I said, look, would you like to be in the entertainment business? And he's like, it sounds good. I don't know what that means. I was like, well, I'll hire you as my assistant. I'll teach you everything. One day, maybe you become a producer or something like that. And he didn't understand it, but he's like, this is an opportunity I've never had. So he moved from Orange County, came to Koreatown, and just started showing up at my house every day, 8:30. We got to work. And through the process of looking at other actors, in the back of my mind, I was always just like, I think he's Boogie. Mm-hmm. Like, I really think he's Boogie. And I talked to our EP, Raphael, about it a lot. And I was just like, when are we going to throw him out there and let him audition for this? And we basically made sure we got the money from the studio and that pre-pro was going and everything was in place before we like presented him. Because I think if we presented him too early, the studio would have been like, you're crazy. We can't trust you and your assistant with this. But once everything was in place, he came to work, and I just took his backpack and laptop one day. I said, take my office. I'm gonna put you on tape in 3 hours. And he was pissed about it, but it worked for the scene. Again, like how Charlemagne didn't know what the beer was. I was like, keep that. We use that for the scene. Him being mad at me for like throwing this audition on him totally worked for his audition. So that's what I kind of do with the first time actors at times, Sorry, Charlemagne, to manipulate you a little bit.
I appreciate it. I wonder, is it hard to get first time actors in these films, these big budget films? Like, is it hard to get Pop Smoke? Is it hard to get homie that played Boogie?
It wasn't hard to get you because they knew about you. They knew, we was like, look, I may get to be on the Breakfast Club if you get in the film. Mm-hmm. But
barter.
Pop,
here we are.
yeah. Pop was also like they understood. Taylor Takahashi was the tough one to get in the film. Even my mom is in the film. My mom is the fortune teller. But that was hard to find. It was Boogie was the toughest one because he's the lead. When it's a cameo role and you got one scene, two scenes, the studios is more willing to roll the dice. But I think you got a few more movies in you, Charlemagne. You knocked that scene dead.
Well, I want to do what you're doing. I like creating content. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like creating content and creating stories to tell. That's more where my mind is at. And I respect you because I like fresh off the boat came from you writing your memoir. You know, you think you would do more of that? Write more books that introduce the story, then make it bigger.
I think when I'm older, I'm gonna go back to books and maybe a very quiet, small restaurant. But right now, I just love film. I love writing screenplays, things like that. I'm disappointed Envy ain't here though, because I met. It's funny. Our producer Raf's first date was at Perfections with me, his wife, and her homegirl when Envy was DJing there. So I was gonna.
That first date was at Perfections?
Yeah. Yeah, she likes to deny it. I told the story at her wedding too. She wasn't too happy about it, I don't think.
Yeah, Eddie, Eddie used to have you still got the restaurant in New York?
Style House?
We closed in the pandemic. We closed, but it's cool. I got 10 years. I'm very happy about it.
And prior to
Right.
that, I remember you. I remember when you was on MTV2. You was on MTV2 for a little while.
Yeah, we were on
Advice?
MTV2, just bumping around over there. But yeah, man, I'm where I want to be now. I really writing, directing is where I want to be. This is what I love.
What's the story about when you were at Vice and you got arrested?
Oh, yeah. We were in Sicily. You ever seen that movie True Romance? Where
Yes.
yeah, Dennis Hopper be telling Christopher Walken, like, you Sicilian, but you black,
Yeah,
and
they
get mad. And at the time, there were a lot of North African like refugees trying to get to Sicily, and there was this like white supremacist nationalist movement in Sicily that was like, don't let them in. And then people were dying in the ocean, and it was really sad. So I went and we did the Vice show, and I took white supremacists out to eat, and I had them show me like Sicilian delicacies. And I'm like, what are you guys known for? They're like, oh, pistachio ice cream, fried rice balls, just the standard Sicilian fare. And I hit them with that. I was like, most of these ingredients is from North Africa. Like, y'all some funky white supremacists thinking there's some pure Sicilian blood or culture. All of this is from Africa. And they got very upset about that. And then there was an argument and a fight on the street, and they called plainclothes cops in, took me and the entire crew, put us in jail. And it was on the 4th of July. It was crazy.
Damn.
Wow.
That sounds like a short film
And
within itself.
Yeah. I mean, we used to go hard on that Vice show.
I can imagine sitting down with no white supremacists. That had to be so difficult.
Yeah, that ended up becoming my specialty. And they were like, anytime there was like some white supremacists, like we interviewed another one in DC, and I had to eat with them. And I think I got IBS from it, Eating with white supremacists give you IBS.
I got two more questions for you, Eddie. You know what I would love to see you do? I would love to see you do a street like gangster film based on China Mac's life.
Choppy. His life is crazy. Like I am. My next film is gonna be about a hitman in LA. Like like a kind of a Hong Kong action film in LA. So I'm excited about that.
Because you see those hood stories, especially in the black community, but you hear China Mac's life. China was out there,
yeah,
like getting it in, like and this even the whole China. What is the Chinese mob? Like I don't know. It just feels like that would be some interesting to see.
Yeah, no, China Mac is a real dude,
And the LA Times said that you felt it never was a viable thing to tell Asian stories. Do you think that's changing now?
I absolutely know it's changing. I'm trying to do the work. Minari is, there's a couple films, like ours that mine are always kind of intersectional. It's always Asian, Black, Latino culture. That's what I think is different and special about what I'm doing, because I'm very interested in solidarity, and this is how I, experienced America, was side by side with Black and Latino Caribbean people mainly. But there are other Asian filmmakers like Minari, right? Mm-hmm. Minari's a very good film about a Korean family trying to make it down south. The Farewell is a good film.
I saw that. Yeah.
It's a really nice.
With Awkwafina?
Yeah. It doesn't take place in America. It's more in China, but it is from the perspective of an Asian American. And then, Justin Chon had that movie Gook that was pretty good. And so I do think it's changing. It's about Asians not selling out, because we definitely got a lot of people in our community that's like, they, selling the easy version of it. And I think, you want to put that more difficult version out there. And, as a kid, I remember watching Menace to Society, Boys in the Hood, films like that made you really engage with the struggle of the Black community. And you started to see, I love Love Jones. Like Love Jones was a phenomenal film that showed you so much about the interior of like Black families, Black people, And I just hope that Asian filmmakers continue to do that work. The Crazy Rich Asian ones are phenomenal for helping us get on base.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, that was the first all Asian cast, right, movie since Joy Luck Club. And that
Yeah.
was an amazing theatrical release. And Joy Luck Club was like in the 90s or something.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Mhm.
But I just want to continue to see. Joy Luck Club was really good. That was a
Right.
great.
Did you watch
film.
Bling Empire on Netflix? You know, I love that series.
Oh my God. I don't, because I've seen a couple shorties that, I seen a couple shorties in there, and I was like, nah, I seen enough of this.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, what you're saying is true.
Sparring partners in there.
What you're saying is true though, because diversity matters, but it can't just be black people on screen doing white shit, Asians on screen doing white shit. I want to see authentic, unique experiences.
Yeah, and us also commenting on each other's. And like one of my favorite scenes in Boogie is when, Richie is telling Boogie, yo, you gotta read Oscar Wilde, the Juno Diaz, that's a fire book. And that is how I learned. Like, I remember, man, like first day of school in 9th grade, because I had been in a private school, 7th and 8th grade, where you had a uniform. And all I wore on my day off was sports clothes. I would wear basketball shirts, basketball jerseys. And I remember it was on sale, so my mom got it for me, was a Nike polo shirt, a Navy Nike polo shirt. I thought I was so fly. I get on the bus, and my homie just starts making fun of me, Eric. And he was like, yo, that's the shirt they wear as the uniform at Champs? I'm like, what? He's like, that's why it's on sale. It got the Champs on the side of the arm. I was like, oh, shit. And then everyone on the bus was clowning me like, yo, he dressed like an employee at Champs Sports. And I was like, damn. And Eric would take me to the mall after. He's like, yo, you got to get fresh, bro. You got to get fresh. And like, he would have one taught me to wear like Nautica and Tommy and all that stuff. And so like, that's my experience. I was just like a goofy Chinese kid dressed like an employee from Champ Sports.
At least it wasn't Foot Locker. That could have been worse.
Yo, oh my God. No, the stripes, hell no.
Well, Eddie, tell them where they can watch Boogie, man.
Well, it's in theaters. It's in theaters all across the country right now, but it's also on VOD Friday. So please support us. We need this.
All
So
right.
it'll be on Prime. Like, how can you see it on streaming services? Just so people know.
Amazon, Fandango, iTunes, wherever you buy movies. It's not on Netflix. It's not on HBO Max. You got to buy it, but I guarantee you it's worth it.
Nah, it's a really good film, man, and like I said, it's a very unique Asian Chinese story. I enjoyed it just because I like seeing other people's cultures.
Yeah, I guarantee you will love it unless you're a white supremacist or incel.
Word. Big stepper Eddie H.
Thank you. Take care, y'all.
Peace, King.